Hello, this is Dana. Today's video is going to be a repot of this Cymbidium orchid. All of this and more coming up at the Orchid Hut. Welcome back to the Orchid Hut. Well, that was a bit different of an introduction. We'll see if I want to do any of those in the future. I'm just back from my morning walk. No hair, no makeup, but ready to do orchid chores for today. So it's been on my mind a while to repot this Cymbidium orchid. The name of it is Golden Elf Sundust. And I believe when I purchased this, I looked it up, and it is meant to be a dwarf and or more of a miniature size Cymbidium, which is the reason that I purchased it in the first place, because number one, I didn't have any experience growing Cymbidiums, and I really didn't want one that just took up a whole ton of space at the time. So I've had this one in my collection for a couple of years, and I'm just continually losing ground on it. You know, it had these particular growths were green when I purchased it, and what seems to be happening is that two of them will die, and then I will get one new growth, and then two will die and I will get one new growth. And so every year the plant is getting smaller and smaller. This is last year's growth, and you can tell that this is quite stunted compared to how tall, you know, some of the previous leaves had become. So what I'm noticing now is I'm noticing that there is an attempt at a new growth right here. So it's probably a good time to repot. This is the original bark from the grower. Now, you know, a lot of people, because Cymbidiums are terrestrial, a lot of people just grow Cymbidiums in regular potting soil, regular, you know, garden soil. I'm going to go today with something from Repot. It's actually made for bromeliads and jewel orchids, which are also terrestrial. It contains, I believe, some cocoa husk, some small bits of perlite, maybe a little bit of charcoal or sort of volcanic rock in here. But in any case, it's meant to be a sort of light and airy type of mix. Now, if you want to go purchase something yourself and you look on Repot, they do have one that is specifically, I guess, geared towards Cymbidiums, and you can look that one up. I looked at the ingredients between the one that I have and the one that's recommended for Cymbidiums, and there's only one particular ingredient that's different. And in the Cymbidium mix, they have a commercial product by the name of Turfus, and that's meant to hold water and keep the mix air, you know, full of air and lightweight. But because I had this particular mix, this is the one that we're going with, because I'm not going to, you know, order a brand new bag just for this one orchid. So we're going to give this a try. I just don't think that Cymbidiums are meant to grow in coarse bark like this. And you know, it's possible that my environment is just not well suited for growing Cymbidiums at all, but I would like to try to be successful with this one before I start adding anything new to my collection. So, one other thing, this pot I know has fire ants in it. I brought it in the house yesterday and there were fire ants all over the counter, so I had to put it back outside. I am going to take this one outside, pull it out of the pot, get the ants off of it, and then I will be back with part 2 of the video. I am suspecting that the root system is not great here, so I have a smaller pot on standby. Hopefully this will work. If not, I'll have to make another break in the video to find something else. Okay, I will be back in just a second with a bare-rooted orchid. Okay, so back with the bare-rooted orchid here, and as I suspected, this is not good. When I turned the pot out into the flower bed outside, there was a ant nest in the bottom of the pot, and so there were fire ants everywhere. I took this orchid and pretty much gave it a blast of water under the faucet outside, and when I put it in the potting tray, I still see an ant or two crawling around the plant. As I'm doing this, if I get stung by a fire ant, you will probably know it because that's a little bit painful. And yeah, the roots are just in really, really sad shape here. You can see that most of them are just completely soft. Many of them, you know, the outer coating of the root is gone and there's nothing but the interior thread left, and that means the root's dead. So I'm just going to start cutting this away. My cutters are clean here, but really I think it's going to be more important to make sure the cutters are clean after I do this job. There's also a considerable amount of what I would call mildew or mold in the pot. So I will be making sure to give this a good spray with hydrogen peroxide when all of the dead stuff is cut away. Now, I'm working from the back side of the plant first because these bulbs and roots were clearly dead. And as I get closer to the front of the plant, I will make sure to slow up a bit to check if there are any live roots left at all. All of the ones that I'm feeling here are completely soft, mushy, deteriorated. There is again that bit of a maybe like a decaying smell coming from this. And you know, again, oh, let's see. This root has just the tiniest bit of substance here. I'll leave that one. This one's soft. You know, we're likely to be down to a one rooted orchid here. That one's a little bit alive. That one still has some substance. Maybe we'll have a 3-rooted orchid. Okay. Yeah, you know, these 3 roots are not in the best of shape, but it's the best that the plant has, so I'm going to leave that. Now, let's have another little look here. This bulb is gone, but I'm not going to cut it away simply because it's really, really close to these roots that might still have a little bit of life left in them. So I'm going to leave this. And the 3 bulbs that still have green leaves, last year's growth, the year before that, and the year before that, those leaves are still here. The new growth is here. That's going to have to come on like gangbusters and, you know, develop a new root system for this plant. Just cutting off some of the dry sheaths here. Although it's hard right now to tell that they're dry because I had to get the entire plant completely soaked to get the ants off. Okay, I think we're going to leave that like that. Okay, now good spray with hydrogen peroxide. I do believe all of the ants are finally off. You know, ants are typically not a problem unless they build a nest like in the bottom of this pot. Or sometimes they can also be involved with aphids. But I don't typically have a problem with aphids outdoors on my orchids because I do have enough natural predators to really keep the aphids under control. Okay, so smaller pot, definitely a benefit here. I'm going to put just a little bit of the potting mix that I showed you earlier in the bottom of the pot. Okay. And I'm probably going to be needing to stake this one now that it doesn't really have any kind of a root system to support it. I'm hearing thunder outside. We are having not exactly downpours these days, but periodic rain showers. The orchids outside seem to appreciate it, although I am kind of watching that they're not staying wet for days and days and days, because sometimes they don't care for that. Okay, so here we are. Tag back in the pot. Now, I will be looking for an appropriate stake for this one, and probably, trying to do something to stabilize it on this drier, older pseudobulb right here. And we are going to hope that this new growth sends out some roots and, that they enjoy this media a bit better than the coarse bark that it was planted in previously. I will be giving this one a good watering now, maybe keeping it more in the shade for a couple of days. And I'll probably report back at some point in the future with an orchid medley chit-chat video and let you know how this one is doing. Okay, if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate all of the new subscribers, old subscribers. I love reading your comments. If you could hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, that helps out the channel. And the notification bell will let you know when I've posted something new. So thank you so much for watching, and talk to you next time.